Alright, g'day, hi and welcome. I don't know if there's going to be much light in here. It's like 6 o'clock. Wait, no, it's only like 1:45. It's like dark. So I got my two main fleshing tools here. I'm going to start off with this tool, which is just like a scraping tool. This thing is just invaluable. So I'm going to start around, stop fighting with me, start right around the legs. This little guy shouldn't be too bad, but what I do is I just pull off as much as I can, and just be careful. And I got a slop bucket down there because stuff does kind of fling and fly and whatever. The idea is to get it scraped down to the hide. You can even, before you even get into that, usually around the legs is where it's the hardest, right? So what you do is you go like this, and what I do is I got two nails through the eyes there. Start up right around the head. Get as much of that as possible. This lip here you're going to cut off after, so don't worry about that. But you do that after you stretch them. So I'm going to up around the head, and I'm just going to work my way down. Now on these little guys, usually quite a bit comes off at a time. The longer they're dead, the harder it is, and the bigger they are, usually the tougher it can be. But these little guys are usually pretty straightforward. You got to put a little bit of pressure on there, but you're not trying to singe the hair on the other side, but what you're trying to do is just get as clean as you can before you take the knife to it. This thing is better than the knife because it's dull, so it rubs the fat off the edges without having to worry about any sort of cuts in the pelt. So that's why I like this thing. But it's also, the downside is if you press too hard, you can singe the fur on the other side, and that'll devalue your pelt. That's where I don't have a proper fleshing board, so this is what I use. Right around the ears and right around this cheek part here, this gristly part, you'll probably have to definitely use the knife, the draw knife. I've got a Caribou draw knife there, so they call it, I think is the brand. It's coming off kind of nice clean. The idea is what we're looking for. Wow, look at that hit. See that mark all the way here? That's what did them in. These little guys, they get pelted pretty hard. I mean, 330 conibear is a pretty darn powerful trap. It could break your arm. It could break your arm. Won't snap it in half, but it'll definitely break a bone. That's what they're designed to do. You know, it's a kill trap, right? So it's designed to knock them out as much as possible on the big guys and kill the little guys as quickly as possible. So get all this gristly, meaty stuff. See all that? That's when I was telling you guys not to worry about all that fat stuff. That's how easy it comes off typically. If you don't get them fleshed in one shot, right now it's a very mild day. We're in the pluses right now, so I'll probably get them all done today, hopefully. And of course, right around the hind legs is where it's the fattest, and right where usually on the tail it's the gristliest. But that's usually the bigger guys where it's hard. And later in the season, right now is when they're the easiest to kind of scrape. So. And flesh. The thing you want to watch out for, again, little meatlets on the pelt. Keep a rag, even an old one like that. That rag is pretty old and saturated. And watch out for stuff like that. The stuff flies around, right? And keep the meatlets for bait, so that's what I do. So I'll brush this out after. But brush it out. If it's taking you a while, don't just stop and brush it once in a while, just to get, to not let the oil sit in the fur too long, right? So anyway, right around the legs is where it's the most tender, typically. But if you can use this thing, you can clean off those legs really nice. And if you're going to put a hole in a beaver pelt, it's going to probably be right around the legs where it's the tenderest. Like the armpit kind of spots. Oops, there goes my. So probably some of this I'm gonna have to definitely get my knife out. But I take most of it off with this, I'll be happy. Do both sides. You know, you're going to go back and forth a few times. Check your edges. This thing usually cleans the edges really, really, really good. Like that, it's getting nice and clean. And this is what they're grading your pelt on, is how clean you get it, right? So, some animals like otters can't really use that because you can't rub that hard. Otters are the worst. Like if you're trapping for the first time and the first animal you catch is an otter, it might just turn you off of trapping. I've said that a million times, just because they're probably the most difficult animal to deal with to skin, because you have to skin every inch, because the fur singes so easily. And by singe, what I'm saying is like the hairs get singed on the other side from the pressure of you. The fur's delicate enough that the fur singes on the other side from the pressure of you just pulling down on it, and that is enough to devalue your pelt. Beaver pelt, not as sensitive. Little guy like this, a little bit more sensitive, but the bigger guys not as much. So you got to be within reason. You got to use kind of common sense here of how much pressure you're going to use. Again, get the wicked stuff first, and then go to the knife last. Sounds like there's a woodpecker up there or something. Like that, I'll get with the knife. I get the leg part all with this. See all that? See all the grease and oil starting to build up. Same thing. Wipe your wipe. wipe. The bigger the pelt, the more meatlets you find flying around. Many will fly on you. So whatever clothes you use, be sure you don't care if it smells like beaver for the next, the rest of the season, kind of. One side's always easier than the other, it seems. But when we get to the draw knife, well, there's lots to show you there. Get as much of that grease off you. So you can see how greasy that is. So if it gets way too greasy, what you could do is throw it in the freezer for half an hour or so and then do it again. Sometimes it takes 2 or 3 fleshings to actually flesh an animal, because it gets otters, beavers particularly, raccoons, they just get so freaking greasy that you have to stop, because you're squishing the grease out too as you're doing this, right? So if you find it's just too greasy, it's best to stop, throw it in the freezer, put it in a bag, throw it in the freezer, like fold the you fold the pelt side, flesh side to flesh side, and then you let it kind of just get in there and thicken up a bit in the freezer. So I'm just going to pull a little bit more off here, and I might try the knife a bit. Again, I like to do around the legs with this, because it pulls the loose stuff off with they call this yucky, fat, blubbery stuff off without risking putting a hole in the pelt. The other thing you can do too is grab yourself a pipe or a tube like this, put it in like so. Put it right around the leg like that. This is how you know if you're clean around the leg. See, I can do around the leg a lot more here. I'll just use this. So if you leave a little bit, there's always a little bit of a membrane that kind of wants to stick on there. It's not so bad because you're tying it off, but try to get as much of it off as you can, as clean as you can. Again, the cleaner the pelt, the better the grade. Like this is going really, that's what you want. Okay, so from that point, I might grab the knife just to show you. And okay, sharp side. Hopefully my camera's getting this. Sharp side, dull side, but both sides are sharp. When you got really gristly, use this, but never. If you're a beginner, I don't recommend using this side. Always have the bevel towards you. The reason why I don't recommend that is quite simple. This is what puts it cuts really good for the gristly parts just to start, but then it's so aggressive that it's very easy to put a hole in the pelt, especially around the waist and stuff like that. So the way I look at it, even if it's a little bit slower, if it's coming like this, right, don't